Okay, it is Wednesday, September 8th, 7:08 p.m. We'll call the Economic Development Commission meeting to order. We have a couple items on the agenda. One that I put as tentative, but we won't be talking to. I haven't heard back from them, but let's just go through it real quick. We have a member change. So just for your awareness, Rebecca Murphy, who was recently appointed, indicated that she wasn't going to be able to meet and be on the commission. So she was unappointed at the last select board meeting. So we have one alternate position that is vacant. The sewer project plan, I emailed two of the folks from the water department, but I hadn't heard back. One was on vacation until Monday. What was that, Michael?
Can you just rephrase that? She wasn't unappointed, she resigned. If I'm not mistaken. Didn't she said like gave us a letter of resignation. Unappointment means something completely different, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, she resigned, so we approved her resignation.
Thank you. I just want to be clear on that. She wasn't, I just don't want to make it sound like she was purposely removed from the select board.
Right. Well, again, as I indicated, she realized that she didn't have time to do it. So anyway, so the sewer project, I'll push that to next agenda. Hopefully I'll hear back from them. I'll ping them again beforehand and see if we can get them to meet. And then we have some business updates, meeting logistics to talk of, and then the approval of meeting minutes. So, and then if we have any other topics that we didn't anticipate would be on the agenda, I don't think so, but so why don't we move into business updates? A couple updates on the marijuana establishments. I had an item here noting open reviews and updates. A couple things. The October bylaw, the marijuana bylaw review from the Attorney General came back, and they had an item that they did not approve in respect to. It was a change that said that in the event of a conflict, I think it said the bylaw would supersede, and they did not accept that. It has to be the Cannabis Control Commission. So I'm not sure the process of how that gets changed, if we just make the change based on that, or if it has to go back through town meeting. But I'll get more information on that. That's the only thing. And then Paul had sent me the one for May too. It looked like they approved May. I did not see the May. I didn't see any sort of issue with the May bylaw changes. That was just the administrative ones to correct that issue with the way that we had the final license and the final license in the building permit listed. Other updates, I know it was asked at the last meeting about the timeline for Solar Retail Norton, and I did send that out from Andre. They are looking to open at the end of the year. If you guys have driven past there, they've taken down the building. They've been doing some digging. I haven't been past there in a few days, but that's what I saw the last time. So they are on track. He said when I talked to him that he was waiting for a couple final approvals to take place, but he's on target for the end of the year. So that's good news. Lucky Green Ladies, I know Alyssa, you're on, but she emailed us for notification of the community outreach meeting that will take place on October 4th. So certainly feel free, I'll send that to you guys in an email. And if you want to circulate that around, please feel free to do so. We can get some folks on the call for that. I think that was all I had. Was there any other open item on there that I was supposed to give you guys updates on?
So Renee, where are we at with Oasis and Queensbridge?
So Mike and Town Council and I are reviewing the HCA's. So hoping to get at least one of them done this week.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So I know that you had sent that email out just recently. If anybody has any, strength concerns, you want them to email me to put that together. I do have something started. But I didn't want to push it out because I wasn't sure if that was breaking open meeting law to push just my own opinions out to everybody. So, but I feel like it's changed. Sorry, I think like it's changed a little bit since that first update that we gave you.
Okay.
Just because I didn't realize, and I know some others didn't realize that the org chart from Oasis is primarily advisors. That the only people that she has put in there as actual employees are herself and then the cultivator. So that kind of changed things, I think, a little bit for what we had written before, in terms of, we were talking about her team and things like that, and she doesn't really have a team, so I don't know that what we wrote before really applies. Does that make sense?
It does. Yep. So are you just mentioning it here now so that you can make that change, and if anybody has any objections to it? And you certainly can, Sandy. You can send that out to everybody, blank copy, and just ask them to send responses to you while you collect it, and then we can review it on a future meeting.
Okay, because mostly what I wrote here was pretty different than what we had discussed at the meeting. That's why I should send it out, or if we should discuss it first before I send it out.
Sure. So was that the only item that there was a change? So initially, Oasis, you were under the impression that they were all employees, but since she has sent the updated org chart, it's 2 employees and the rest are advisors through Queensbridge.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and so what we had written before, what we had said before, I basically, when I wrote that up for you last time, right after the meeting that we had with them, I kind of based it mostly on what Laura's comments were, which was, that she had some concerns on, just the experience and in terms of their experience in the industry. And so I think all of that was based on more of the org chart from Queensbridge. I think what she written is more applicable to Queensbridge. And then I think Oasis has some different concerns in that we don't have any names or any resumes for the different positions in that chart at all. They're all just advisors. So that was kind of what I had written up, that the big concern is that all of the CSO, the CFO, and the COO are all listed as advisors. Given that our main concern from Queensbridge is a lack of experience in their senior management, I feel like this is even a greater concern for Oasis, given that those positions have yet to be filled. The only positions that seem to be filled at present were the CEO and the cultivation director. And then the other piece too is, again, going from, I was glad to see the odor mitigation plan that you sent, that you forwarded, but I was just kind of surprised that that wasn't included right from the beginning, because in her original presentation, it said that all materials utilized to complete odor mitigation, managing waste, lighting, transportation, and parking will be submitted. And so none of those were part of that presentation. I don't know if any of those if she has other plans. I mean, this is the time to submit them, right? So clearly they did have something for odor mitigation, and it seemed like, the same as Queensbridge, seemed like a reputable company. So that certainly alleviated my concerns on that issue. But, again, there was a lot missing that was in the Queensbridge presentation that was not in the Oasis.
So I would probably say, just to document that as a concern, I mean, she was in front of us at least 4 times. Right. So that information should have come through. And I thought at one time that somebody had mentioned, like they brought up the odor mitigation, and she made a comment about, well, we'll provide it to the town if the town wants it.
Right.
But we were clear in wanting that up front.
Yeah, so I think, if she has anything else on the other, again, in the presentation, it said they will submit plans and specifications on all materials utilized to complete the following: odor mitigation, managing waste, lighting, transportation, parking. I feel like there's something else that I got cut off, but it was a whole list of things that she said she would provide information on, but hasn't. So, and the only reason the odor mitigation, I even asked for that, was because I figured, I wasn't even sure if they had a plan. But then Queensbridge had given their plan in their presentation. And so I thought, well, maybe I would imagine they're using the same company. And again, that was, a big concern. That would be a big issue for the public. So I was kind of surprised that wasn't right in the presentation.
Yeah, understood.
Yeah, even to say that they have a company, they're hiring a company that has worked in, I forget the names of the companies that odor mitigation company has worked with, but they have experience in the industry, and probably Curaleaf and Cresco Labs. So I mean that there's some evidence there of whether the system works or not, right? Based on those other experiences.
Okay. So are you fine documenting those in as part of the concern, as an item of concern? Not
Yeah, I
part of the
have all
concern?
that written down. So do you want me to just send out what I have here? Is that okay? Even though it has.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, does anybody have any comments to the modifications that Sandy had mentioned? I'll take silence as a no.
Yeah, I feel like things I
Denise
wrote,
unmuted.
sorry, I feel like a lot of the things I've written we haven't really discussed. That's why I wasn't sure if I should send it out or not.
Yeah, the only thing I would add for consideration, not that I think it changes anything that Sandy said at all, but I do remember, I look back at my notes, but I do remember some conversation around that. I don't remember for which business it was, but they hadn't hired folks yet because they didn't know if the business was going to be able to move forward, right? So it's hard to hire without knowing with any certainty that you're going to actually have this opportunity to start the business, right?
Yeah,
That's
I think that's right, Denise. I think that was mentioned but I guess I was, I kept seeing the org chart and not noticing that it was all advisors. I didn't pick up on that until I think someone asked at the Queensbridge presentation, well, how are you sharing all these people, all these positions? And it wasn't, these are all positions for Queensbridge that are then advising for the Oasis.
right.
And I did note too, because I know Tiffany had mentioned, and this probably would be, I think it sounded like she really wanted to have the conversation more on like a one-on-one basis with they do seem to have experience in the legacy industry, right? So I think that they weren't comfortable necessarily sharing a lot of that in a public meeting, but that I made note of that too, that possibly that would be, more information on that would be helpful when you do meet with them to discuss the HCA and that type of thing.
Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, it needs to be discussed in open meeting. So if they're uncomfortable talking about it, then it just wouldn't be discussed. But if it has relevance to them, they obviously should, it's in their best interest to talk about it. Okay. Did you get any comments back from anyone to add into the mix?
I didn't know.
Okay. Is there anything for those on the call now that you want to add verbally for Sandy to put in?
I'll reiterate my concerns that I think I'd mentioned before in previous meetings that their business plan doesn't seem to be very comprehensive. And there's a lot of gaps in what they're sending us, particularly Oasis. But I think even Queensbridge has a lot of gaps in just kind of a comprehensive business model and what their projections are. And my main concern around that would be, regardless of what they say they are going to put in, if they're not running a successful business and they're not making money, they're not going to be able to maintain like their odor mitigation and all the plans that they have if they're not going to be successful because they lack the business acumen to do running a successful business. Then it really doesn't matter what their odor mitigation plans may be if they can't afford to swap out the HEPA filters, daily, weekly, whatever the case may be that it requires to keep the odor down. That would be my main concern on any one of these, but in particular Oasis, where there's a lot that seems to be lacking there.
Cody, do you have like specifics on especially Queensbridge in terms of they did have a business plan, like were there specific things?
Yeah, I spoke to, I spoke to a friend of I guess it's family friend that is actually in the medical cannabis industry. He actually is a grower for medicinal cannabis out in he started here and he's working in Oklahoma, and I mentioned to him the projection of like I think it's like $4,000 a pound that they're projecting. And his response to me was the market may be at $4,000 a pound right now, but that it's headed down and it's probably going to settle down around 2,000. So, you know, I don't know what the actual number is. I don't know, you know, I haven't studied up on how much marijuana sells for, but you know, if there are holes in their proposal, chances are it's not going to be, you know, they're projecting $48 million in sales in year one, and that is a really high number for anybody to project sales in year one of 48 million. I mean, I'll quit my job tomorrow and open up a growing facility if I can make $48 million in a year, you know, year one. I just feel like it's kind of pie in the sky. And, you know, maybe it will be 48 million. It would be awesome to have that kind of, you know, industry in our town. But at the same time, I feel like it's usually, if something doesn't seem right, it usually if it's too good to be true, then it probably is. That's my 2 cents, my concern, for whatever it's worth. Might not be worth 2 cents.
It's not 48 million worth, that's for sure, Cody.
You know, that's a lot of money for projecting in year one.
It is. I mean, I can tell you, when I was at the convention, you know, one of the things that they stressed was that cultivation manufacturing, they don't have the same revenue that retail does. Certainly the margins are very different, because they discuss that in respect to, you know, what do host communities look at from a perspective of, you know, the community impact fee and so on and so forth. So I think that's, I mean, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but if we go back to the retailers that we heard from, I think that's double than any retailer had even projected.
Yeah, that actually reminds me. So talking to that friend of a family member that does this, I gave him the rough estimate of what they said. They're saying that they're going to harvest 19,500 pounds from 4 grow rooms. And his response to me was, no way. He said their projections seemed off to him, and he does it for a living. He's been doing it for the past like 4 years. I think he is the master grower for the company that he works for. And he said those grow rooms are too big and they won't get the yield that they're projecting that they will. I don't know, you know, the validity of that. I haven't vetted it, but you know, somebody within the industry is telling me that what they're saying they can do is not possible. I have no way of knowing whether it is true or not. I'm putting out there the information I've gotten from somebody in the industry says that it might be a little high. And if you take into account their projection of, you know, 4,000 per pound, and if that rate goes down, you know, they're not going to be anywhere near the 48.7 million or whatever. So that's the kind of stuff that just has me concerned that, you know, if it doesn't live up to what they say it's going to, and they're using those numbers to project their operating budget, and they're not making those numbers, then they're going to start cutting where they have to, and it's probably going to be in the places where they think they can skimp, like odor mitigation. So again,
Right.
I can't remember. I obviously can go back and look, but I thought that they had based their projections on other similar corporations. Am I misremembering that?
I didn't see that they had based it on like specifically another exact building with this layout and this square footage footprint. the impression I got from talking to this friend was it doesn't exactly scale. So if you get something out of 400 square feet and you double the room size, you're not getting double the yield. So it may not scale. They may have taken a similar model that was shown to be successful, scaled it up, and they said, oh, well, we're increasing the cultivation areas by 200%, so our yield will go up 200%. So, and that's where I don't know the science behind it, but you know, somebody that does said that doesn't sound right. So I tend to lean towards believing somebody that's actually doing it for a living versus you know, I haven't heard their master cultivator that they have on record or on the org chart. I haven't seen that he's grown a commercial scale grow house. He may have grown plants in his house. He may have grown them in his barn, but it may not necessarily scale to this level. And if they're making assumptions on projections like that, then it could go, you know, I could be wrong. There's, you know, I don't know how we vet that. But my main concern there is if we're presenting this and they build it and then things aren't going well because they, you know, miss their projections, they don't have the business acumen, then they're going to start skimping, and then we end up with a failed business, or, you know, a lot of really angry residents that live around the area. Because the odor mitigation is not working. So
doesn't the planning board can put conditions in on those types of things, correct? I mean, I guess that's the part. I know Paul specifically said at one point that some of the issues we were dealing with were kind of stepping on the toes of the planning board. So I do like hesitate to say they're not going to follow up with, you know, their odor mitigation plans when that's something that they can mandate and they can enforce. I think I'm assuming, but if that's not correct,
yeah, the special conditions will have that, and we're actually adding language into the HCA as well. But I mean, I would just document as a concern, right? That if they're, like Cody said, if they're basing their operational plans on a $48 million revenue that they may not hit, there, you know, there's a likelihood that down the road when that revenue is different, that their operations will change too, and they may not be in a position to have as a robust system, right? So there's some risk there. I mean, it's not saying it's going to happen, but I think it's a valid concern.
Yeah, no, I think it's a valid concern. I think it's something more that should it get to the point of the planning board that they would put some enforcement restrictions or conditions on. I think it's information for them to have, but
yeah, that's why I think it's good to put it as a concern, and then they can consider that in their special conditions.
Okay. So I get confused with like what I'm writing up right now is more, I thought, for select board, but will this also go to planning board as well?
We have sent everything to planning board, so Paul will take the packet and send it to them. Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, historically too, and I know I've talked about this, like if this is approved by the select board, like who will be supporting the company through, because we've done historically, like I've been there when Solar Retail was in front of the planning board and provided the opinion of the EDC as well as the select board, and went through the HCA, and I actually did a review of the bylaw too. I don't think that would occur again because we've done that, we did it as the first time, but I would anticipate that we would take the same position here.
Take the position that that one of us would go to the meeting to support them. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah. That we would provide, because we're the ones that really sat down with them and fleshed it out. So we would provide that opinion as well for their consideration. It just helps to have there's some cohesion to the groups and to the process from the beginning to the end.
I think that, my concerns are going to be the concerns that are raised by planning board, select board, and I don't know at what point with it's introduced back to Queensbridge or Oasis or both, basically some sort of backup on their projections. 48 million in year one. I've seen a few business proposals in my time. I've seen startup companies. I've never seen a startup company go from 0 to 48 million in 1 year. I've just never seen it. It could be possible, but I think from their projections, they were actually projecting 48 million year over year, for at least for the first 5 years. And I don't see 0 to 48 million in 1 year. So that sets off a little bit of a red flag to me. And I feel like I feel like our job is to try and clear the red flags and get them to provide support for what they're presenting to us, so that there are fewer questions and they're ready when it gets to select board and planning board to present the information to show that it's backing up what they're telling us.
I think you're right, Cody. I had a thought too, and I lost it midway, which I was trying to think about what it was. I was thinking, oh, you know what I was thinking? Two things, actually. We had this conversation early on when we were looking at retailers too, because the projections were coming in high, right? And I don't want to say we looked at it with took it as a grain of salt or anything, but certainly I think, I think everybody, I don't want to say everybody overestimates, but I think everybody's very positive in their projections, so I think we have to understand that there's a margin of error in all of those. I do agree 48 is a little high. If they, specifically saying in the first year, that really concerns me, because you need time to grow the product, right? This isn't like retail where you get it from somebody, it's already together, it's in your stores, and you start selling on day one. I mean, this takes some time. And I don't know if you guys remember when we heard from Edward Phipps with the botanical company from Maine. He talked a lot about that and the time that it takes to just really build the foundation and have a product that is sustainable, that you can continue to grow in enough space. So I would probably challenge the first year as well. The second year, I'd have to go out and ask other people. And solar retail, Norton might be, Andre might be a person to ask. They do it in Somerville, right? They were one of the first ones to have a cultivation facility. So we can give just general square footage versus yield and see if that aligns to what they've seen in their facility, if we wanted to.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I feel like a retail establishment, failure of that is, it's a storefront. If it fails, it fails. You're not necessarily going to make residents around it upset, versus the cultivation piece of it. There is a much I'll say higher impact potential to abutters and the residents around, because of the odor. And it's one of those things that I know enough people in the pollution liability industry, and they deal with odor mitigation from, stuff from anaerobic digesters and water treatment plants and all that type of stuff. And they're dealing with this same type of issue with cultivation facilities. It's just part of it. And they've got to have that system in place, which I think we all recognize. It's just more likely that if we have issues with this type of establishment, this type of company, it's more likely to cause issues in the surrounding area versus a retailer.
So Cody, maybe I'm missing it, but I was looking back at their presentation, and I think that was 38 million in wholesale flower. So I don't think that was their profit. Are you saying that you thought they said something about that being
no,
profit?
if you look at the Oasis of Tranquility, I don't know. I know early on their numbers were exactly the same, but if you look at, it's slide 23 of 24, They've got year one, 19,500 pounds will produce 48,750,000 in wholesale flour in today's market.
Oh, you're looking at Oasis, not Queensbridge?
Yeah, but I think Queensbridge had something similar.
Queensbridge is 9,600 pounds, producing 38,400,000 at
Yeah,
4,000. That, yeah, so
very
that
little
was,
different. And I remember asking something similar on the call with Queensbridge. I think I missed the call with Oasis, but Queensbridge was focusing a lot of their efforts on the transportation early. Like earlier on, their revenues were going to kind of kick off more geared towards the transportation until they could gear up on the cultivation piece. So I know their business model is a little different, but I do remember seeing early on, you know, what they provided to us. The numbers were exactly the same. It was the same presentation, just a different jacket on it.
yeah, I mean, I think their latest presentations are pretty different though.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Queensbridge, I think, again, added quite a bit to the most recent presentation. That's why I was looking kind of for specifics on them in particular,
Yeah.
because I felt like they answered a lot of the questions that we had asked. I don't even see, and maybe it's in their in some of their documentation, but I don't even see their projected
Yeah, I
profits.
don't see it. I feel like it was in an earlier presentation they gave us, like the last presentation where everybody was in. I think I got booted because I lost power because of the storm. I think that was the one.
Okay. Yeah, because they don't talk about, like, you know, that's great that they're going to bring that much in, but what are their costs? And I don't.
Yeah, they've got. You mentioned it on page 9. It was year one, 9,600 pounds is 38.4 million.
Right.
I mean,
But, yeah.
It's a very similar number.
And Sandy, would it help Cody to send you language around that, or are you good with?
You know, I think personally, I feel like that, you know, again, I'm not quite sure what our role is, but I would say that for us as a EDC, it sounds like our recommendation is that you need to back that up a little bit, right? That if you're going to say it's this is how much you're going to produce, come up with a comparable operation somewhere. Not scaled up like Cody was saying, but actually same size, and show us where those numbers came from.
Yeah, I would think that they would have some sort of, you know, case study or, you know, something within the industry to show what these things are capable of. I don't know if there's, you know, with the grow lights and like whatever the system is that they're putting in, if that's a manufactured system showing, you know, how these things produce. I just, they say in their presentation grow assumption they've got 1,280 lights, 16 plants, 1.5 pounds per light, 5 harvests per year. Like those are all, if you have like ideal setting, ideal conditions, and it may not necessarily scale. That's what I'm saying. If you have like 4 lights and 1 plant, and that produces, you know, however many pounds from 1 plant, it doesn't necessarily scale to where you now line those up. That's what I feel like we're missing. They throw assumptions in, but there's nothing really backing it to say, this is why we're making those assumptions, and this is why we think that it'll grow to this scale.
Anything else, Cody, that you want to add?
I don't know. Would it be appropriate for them to give us a projected financial, like their projected expenditure on operating expenses and that type of stuff? I don't know if we've seen anything like that from them. I think we saw a very high level, but I don't think that we got down to, you know, the odor mitigation system requires 50 filters that have to be swapped out every 2 weeks, and those filters cost $150 a piece. And like that's where I kind of want to get an idea of, okay, you say you're going to have 38 million in revenue, or you're projecting, you know, that based upon your yield that you'll bring in 38 million. How much are you spending to grow that 38 million? And if you don't hit that 38 million, where's the money coming from to make sure that the systems that we need you to have in place to keep the residents around you happy, that those are operating the way they're supposed to be?
So your original question was, is it appropriate for us to ask for it?
Yeah, can we ask for it? I know early on, like interim financials or projected financials are going to be tough. It's one of the, but I would say normally you have to go to a bank with what it is, but this, you know, the CFO is basically bankrolling this personally, I believe. And banks aren't loaning to the cannabis industry because of federal guidelines. So I don't know how much they have, but I'd say any, you know, anything at this point to show what their projected expenditures on operations would be probably beneficial. So it'll give us an idea of, you know, what their expectations are, and if they do have a shortfall in their revenues, if they have, you know, an entire crop fail, because that happens, you know, it doesn't yield the way it's supposed to, they're ironing something out, they lose power and the grow house gets too hot or too cold, or, you know, whatever it is, stuff like that happens. If that happens, where are you gonna, you know, where's the money coming from? Or how much wiggle room do you have in your financials to absorb something like that?
So my thoughts on that, I'll give you two different perspectives. One is, I mean, we can certainly ask them for anything. They're not obligated to give it to us. But the second is if you don't feel comfortable in what their projection is for $48 million, I don't know that any information on expenditure is really going to help, because you're going to be basing that on a figure that you're not quite sure they can achieve, right? So I guess I would ask, what's the benefit of asking for that information?
I would think that, you know, projections based off of sales is one thing, but when you have hard numbers, like we know that we have 15 air handling units that have 2 filters in them, so that's 30 filters, and each filter is $100. That's $3,000. Like, you know, whatever that is, those numbers are going to be kind of hard and fast versus kind of loose on the projections of something. That's what I'm saying. If it's, you know, if you know your operating budget is $4 million a year, then it gives you kind of a better picture of how much leeway you give them on their projection at 48 million. I don't think they're necessarily expecting to spend $48 million or $30 million. I just feel like if they're expecting to get 48 million in the first year and their operating budget's 5 and they only get 4 million, you know.
I mean, I think it would probably just make more sense, and this is my opinion, so open for discussion, but to just document the concern, that, you know, financial concern, so that the planning board has it under advisement. And I mean, I think we can even put in there, we could put a note to say, you know, potentially consider special conditions to account for any risk mitigation that might be needed in the future.
Okay.
I mean, I just don't know what that information would do. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I guess I've kind of lost a little bit of focus on this, because it's granted, I know I missed last meeting and so forth, but what's our scope in this? You know what I'm saying? I understand we want to vet people and we want to do this, but I feel like we've gone a very deep into the weeds a little bit on regarding recommendations or not recommending and so forth. And it's no, don't take my comments as a criticism of your feedback, because it's accurate analysis. But are we doing some of the work of the planning board and or the select board to kind of this? I mean, realistically, these company doesn't really have, all they need to do is have an insurance policy. Right? Is if they have an insurance policy on the property and they make sure that their ventilation system is part of it, that's that question you said mute. But I'm very concerned that we're getting into the weeds of approval here or not approval, or not even, something it's not approval because we're not an approving authority. We're a recommending body. And if we don't think they're ready, our recommendation is they're not ready, and the select board can say no.
So my understanding was that we didn't want to provide, and I wasn't at these meetings, that we didn't want to provide a recommendation, but we were going to provide our concerns to the select board for consideration, which would just follow through, as well as, where we felt there were strengths. So correct me if I'm wrong, but that's
you are
this
right.
conversation.
Let me back up here a little bit because, a couple of meetings ago, I think I'm on the record for saying we're a board that should be supporting business. So that's why I'm a little lost here. And I'll be the first one to say, it's like, I feel like we're kind of getting in the weeds a little bit with them. I'll be the first one to say, I don't know what it takes. I mean, I've been involved with equity groups. I've been involved with startups. I've been involved with, I don't know what it takes to run a marijuana business. Okay. And I mean, I can look on proposals on paper and make jumps. $48 million does seem like a lot of money, but I don't think that's the planning board's concern. I don't think it's a select board's concern. If they don't make it, doesn't mean they're not a successful business in town. $48 million is a stupid number. Right? I mean, I
Well,
don't
it
think,
depends. If you're on the receiving end of $48 million,
something
it's a great number. Yeah.
How to spend it, and I'm gonna, as a select board member, I'm gonna tell you how to spend it at the schools, how to spend it with the new skate park over near, the Millennial Park, but I don't want to get caught up in all the minutia on something that, I mean, we've kind of coached them along pretty well on their presentation. From when we first saw them to now, they look much better. Right. I mean, I don't think if there's anyone who disagrees with me, that's fine. I mean, I'm not going to stop the mountain I'm going to die on. But I think we've done everything we can to prepare them for a presentation for the select board and or the planning board. And if they still can't figure it out, at some point they got to swim or sink. Right. I mean, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I've had this conversation with town council, and she said our role is not to be helping a business build their operational plan, right? Like, our role is to evaluate it and determine, is it a business that we want in the town? Or do we see that it's, the risk versus the benefits really, don't put us in a position where we want to entertain anything further with them. So, I mean, I'm, like I said, and that's why I said, Cody, I don't know, would that change anything? I think it's a valid concern. I think we should document it as a potential risk. And then just, we could put, some notation around there that the planning board should take this into consideration when thinking about applying any special conditions to the permits.
And,
so Renee, that we've approved, the select board has approved to go forward with 2 HCAs and a delivery business within the town. 2 retail business and a delivery business in the town. I'm hard pressed to even say the town wants to even stomach any more marijuana. I'm really that, and it's one of those things, I don't have an answer. I haven't surveyed the town, but at some point we got to get to a breaking point of this town. And granted, nothing's open yet, and I surrender. It's like it's all this pie sky thing, but we got to be close to what people that we're evaluating to try to land some of the planes that are up around the town, floating around to land. So
yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. I don't feel like we've pushed the max on, and I'm just going to use this as an analogy, and it's kind of somewhat personal here, not to you directly, but right, we have 9 liquor stores. So the conversation's been, well, how many liquor stores do we need? Right. Well, if the communities, not just ours, but around us, support it, then, why not have the business? Now with this, this is something completely different. So if you look at the supply chain, or you look at the process overall, right? I mean, as long as retail is booming, you need cultivators. I don't see retail. I mean, I see the price changing over the next couple of years because of supply and demand, but I don't see retail like shutting down. There's just going to be more. So this is this is another one of those, it's a potential for us for the town to get additional revenue, not through an existing establishment that we already have, right?
Yeah.
Like say we had 5 delivery or 5 transportation or 5 cultivation, like I see it as a mix. Yes, it's all marijuana, but it's a different business, you know, and it's a business that it's not dependent on just like who's coming into town. They can deliver anywhere in the state. And hopefully in the next couple of years, they'll be able to deliver anywhere in the Northeast.
And I understand the model. I love the delivery model. I really do. I would love to see the two, personally, I would love to see the delivery service and the 2 retail spots land. Okay, now we see that they're running well. The town seems to be transitioning. Okay, we also have a cultivator that's this, but you know, something I know that's not in our bylaws right now. We don't have a max on them. We don't have a stop, but sooner or later.
We can't.
And
It's not that's not in our bylaws. We can't.
We can. We have the authority. Right?
We cannot. We voted yes. You cannot limit it.
Put a moratorium, Renee, on HCA's.
Yeah, we have the right not to go into HCA's.
Right, but it's not a bylaw. It's just us saying we're not going to engage in HCA. I just want to be clear that legally we can't put a limit on cultivation, or the only thing we can put a limit on is retail establishments.
So Renee, I think I brought this up before, and I don't know if has the select board ever discussed this about as a whole, because I would hate to even be wasting people's time if the majority of the select board was feeling like there should be a limit of some sort.
We haven't, but I've provided updates and nobody has said otherwise. You know, again, I'm going to go back to it's a different business. You know, it's not something. I think from what we've seen through our time and talking to people, not only those who came in front of us from the different types of establishments, like as we were learning more about the industry, but from residents, like I think cultivation has been the most. I don't want to say challenge, but it presents us with the most risk. And it's because of the odor and it's because of what's occurred before, right? Like the traffic issues with retail. I mean, that was a very short-lived thing because 2 retailers opened up and they were the only 2 retailers, right? But you still see some cultivators opening and odor being an issue. I can tell you we are very fortunate because town council has worked with multiple towns around the area, one in particular that did have problems, and they were able to remediate those problems, right? So she's very knowledgeable about this, and she is the same person that sits, the one that we're working with on all the HCAs. She's the same person that advises the planning board, right? So we have really strong experience in this area. So I feel comfortable with that. But at the same time, like, that's why I want to make sure that if we have a concern that at some point, because of their projections, if they don't make the money, that they might be skipping on other things, I think we just need to state it because we've spent hours with them, right? The planning board's not going to spend hours with them. The select board certainly doesn't have the time to spend hours with them. So I think we just need to document it as a concern. If either group requires, further discussion, I think then we can have a member to join their meetings and talk to that, but I don't think that, Cody, I mean, again, my opinion, I don't think going back to them to ask for more information is going to provide us with any additional benefit.
Yeah, I can see your point and concede that. I think we don't necessarily want to belabor it anymore. I'll throw out I think our role is trying to kind of help get businesses, on their way, navigating the red tape for whatever it's worth and being prepared to answer questions that are going to come up as a potential solution to, any issues or concerns around the financial piece. I think, there are surety solutions out there, bonds that can be put in place and
it's required actually it's required for these.
Yeah. So, I mean, the surety market's going to do a much deeper dive on financials. They require the financials to go through all of that stuff. And it is, rigorous for them to do that. So that is certainly part of the, I think, solution, is making sure that they've got that backed up, and whatever the performance responsibilities are around the odor mitigation are somehow or another included in that.
Mm-hmm.
Madam Chair, just to follow up on, just to close the loop on one of the points that was just brought up prior to Cody. I think it is important, and I probably will ask the select board to have a discussion on this, because I do think it's important that we've approved two retail HCA's that hopefully will come to fruition. We've come to delivery, a delivery HCA that will hopefully, with all plans, will come to fruition. I think it's a very valid discussion. I don't think while no one's mentioned that they're against it, I think it's a valid point at this point that we do bring it up with the select board, that, to really a discussion, like, what do we want? Even though they're different beasts and animals,
I agree. Yeah.
I think it's important that we know what we're getting into, right? Because at this point, as far as I'm concerned, is I'm not all that rah cultivation. I'm not. I know it's different. Maybe I recognize the revenue things. I want to kind of land the planes that we've got in the air before we kind of go down something which everything I've heard is more risk to the community impact. When I say risk community, impact to neighbors and abutters. It sounds like there's more impact to them. And I'm not necessarily rah cultivation. So
there's more potential impact, yes, and that's the whole purpose of the planning board.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll never.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing. I mean, I don't think that's a conversation for the EDC. I think that's a conversation for the select board. And I think that, when we have the discussion with the applicants, that should be part of the discussion, is what do we see? My plan, and we haven't done this, is not for the applicants to present and then we review the HCA. We always do those separate, right? So we have time to fully understand the business, think about it, and then the legal part comes later. So I think, Michael, what we'll just plan doing, and I can certainly own it, is that when we line somebody up to present, that's part of the discussion, is we have a presentation and we talk about, okay, this isn't, I mean, everybody has known what's in the queue, but then we have the conversation about what do we see long term, right? The nice thing about this, and it's one of the only businesses really we have the opportunity, is that we can stop it, right? Like, we don't have to have exponential growth. It's based on what's good for the town, certainly being comfortable with applicants. So I'm less concerned about our role in that and just presenting the board with the information, and our opinions based on the meetings that we've had.
Yeah, but the board sometimes, and I think this, we were voting on individual applications when they happen and so forth. Yeah, okay. I'll surrender here, and this isn't one of those things. I'm not going to labor the issue.
Yeah, we can do it. I actually have an updated HCA template, so maybe when I put that on the agenda, we'll have the discussion on just the overall business or business interests. I mean, we still have a lot of open space, right? We have a lot of areas that can be built, so it's something to consider too. We're not rolling in the dough by any means. Go ahead, Sandy.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think Cody's concerns are kind of everything seems to go back to a lack of experience, right? And then that they don't have the experience in this, and so we certainly don't know whether their financials are correct or not correct, but we also don't feel confident that they know either. So I think and it goes back to their lack of experience, and even more so. So you have Queensbridge, who doesn't have the experience. Okay, maybe you agree to take the risk on them, but then Oasis has them as advisors, right? So you have people without experience advising people without experience. So that is where, to me, Oasis, I think, is even a bigger concern, because we don't have those names, we don't have those resumes for who's going to be in those positions. And then I get, I understand what Denise said earlier, their concern was that they don't have the financing, so therefore they don't have the approval, so therefore they don't have the people. But that makes it really hard on our end to really be able to say, if we're saying to Queensbridge, we're not comfortable with your with your experience, and we don't even have those names for Oasis, then that's that's saying something to me.
I think just spell that out. I think that you said it eloquently, right? It's tough. If we don't want to make a recommendation, then we just have to put it down on paper and have that be considered. So any other comments? Because I know we're about almost an hour in on this topic. Anything for Sandy? Okay. Sandy, do you want to, when you have a chance and you have a good draft, you want to distribute it to the group, and then I'll plan on putting it on next agenda?
Sure. Yep, I can do that.
Okay. And that'll just be one final, everybody's okay with what's in writing. Awesome. Thank you, Sandy, for leading that. I think that was it on updates in that regard. For the business database, I know Laura's not here, but she did send an email. I don't know if anybody's gotten back to her. I have not. I'll be the first one to admit I have not. I don't have the bandwidth right now to dedicate time. Maybe I'll change in a month or so, but to take a part of that list and start going through it. I hope so.
I'm halfway through my 137, and the spreadsheet. And by the way, I'm never ahead of the game, so I'm going to own it when I can own it. I was having some functionality issues with the spreadsheet, specifically in the subcategory, and I read the instruction sheet, and then I saw the spreadsheet, and I just wanted to. There are several businesses of the 137 I have that were out of business. And that really wasn't an option. I wasn't sure I was supposed to delete it, so I created another column, and I figured I'd adjust it at the end. Does anyone have any kind of sense? And I've reached out to Laura too, and I just haven't been able to touch base with her yet.
I thought we talked about that at the last. Did we talk about that?
We talked about taking some of those names and hiding them, right? But I think that would be a helpful category to have, to say out of business, and then we can hide anything that's out of business in that category.
The second one that I've seen a lot of is, while they may be incorporated in the town, they operate outside of town. So they're incorporated in Norton, but they operate in Taunton. They operate in Mansfield. So I think that's the other thing. We have no desire to put them in a directory. If they just because they're incorporated here, they're operating in another town. I don't see the point of putting them into a directory of any sort.
So you're saying, Michael, do we need a category for that too?
We do, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So out of business, operates in a different town, and that's really kind of where we are there. There are also a lot of subcontractors. So what I mean by that is I found salespeople that have 5 different lines, and this is one of the lines is incorporated at their home address, but they don't. It's like a professional business services, but they're part of a multi. It's like an independent sales business. But it's actually, I was really impressed by her spreadsheet, and I really wanted to just kind of give her a kudos. And I know a lot of other people worked on it as well with her, so I just wanted to it was pretty impressive.
We'll make sure to tell her that at the next meeting.
I will make sure to bring it up again.
No, I thought it was great too. Has a lot of information.
Well, you know what it was is, of course, I've been working on something like that on my own, which combined into that was very small in footprint of what she was doing. But hers was on steroids. So.
Awesome. Anything else on that?
What is the time frame to turn that around?
Tomorrow, Sharon.
Sorry, Mike, I couldn't hear you.
I said tomorrow.
Great, I'll stay up tonight and get it done.
Right. I don't know that we talked a time frame, did we?
He did not.
That's a great question, Sharon. I'll put that down.
I did reach out to Laura about it, but I don't know if she's away or just busy, but she didn't respond yet.
Okay.
Well, I thought she was just ignoring my phone call.
She is away right now, so she's not ignoring you.
But she is ignoring my phone call.
I am planning to do mine. I just haven't touched it yet.
Everybody's ahead of me.
I
don't even have plans.
I was kind of giddy to get it. So when I got it, it was like, really, this is pretty cool.
You said you were giddy to get it? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Renee,
That's awesome.
Renee, this is Chris. I'll raise my hand. I'm available for the rest of this week and next week. I can, if you want to give me some, I'll be happy to take them. I'll be away for a month after that, but in the next 2 weeks, if you've got some that you can shift over to me to help folks out, I'm happy to do that.
Sure. I can, does anybody have offhand, like what was assigned by chance?
Yeah, she assigned each person their, she's divided amongst the whole group, and she's
Okay.
that were unassigned. So if you want to kind of probably maybe pass off yours or something. And just for the rest, in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see a little bit of landmass, up near the bridge. If I'm not mistaken, that's Alcatraz. Just
What?
point that out.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Chris, thank you for the offer. So I'll reach out to others too. But yeah, if I can give you mine as an initial start, that would be great, because I don't. I'm just being honest. I know I'm not going to touch it, at least in the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Happy to help out. My pleasure.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
If I finish my list, I'll reach out to the group to see who needs help with theirs. So.
Thank you.
Was that something that should have gotten? I haven't seen anything from Laura on the.
Yeah, you just get an email?
Yeah, let me see.
I've searched. I haven't seen anything on.
Hold on, I gotta figure out how to work my email to.
I've got it open. Do you want me to forward?
Okay. Is Cody's name on there?
Take a look. Hold on, so I'll see if you're. It's funny. It looked like she. Hold on, man.
It says Thompson 0809. Is that you?
Yeah, it was from Laura. When did she send it?
Sent it on September 4th at 10 p.m.
I've got.
Email account.
Oh, you know what? It may have gone to spam. Hold on.
I can forward it to you, Cody, if you want.
Okay. Yeah, because I've got a bunch of stuff from Renee, and then I've got like EDC meeting stuff from Laura, but I don't have that.
That now.
Renee, if you send that information to the Norton email address, Town of Norton, that I have for the rail trail, I'll just shift it over to my personal email address, and you'll get the email back from me from on my personal email.
Okay.
It was in my spam. It was in my spam email. I got it, Mike.
Okay.
I'll do that, Chris. I can't move off my screen because for some reason, I can't expand this particular email I'm in, and I don't want to lose it. But I'll do that. I can do that after the meeting.
I've got an email open. Do you want me to just send it to him?
Sure. Yeah, if you don't mind.
Let's see. Chris, do I have your?
It's CKEYES@nortonmaus.com.
Say that one more time. I apologize.
Sure, it's CKEYES@nortonmaus.com.
How'd you get that one? Holy moly!
Yeah, well, it's a rail trail. It's a special project.
It's all about the pull of the rail trail. I got it.
That's
I
it.
want to see that project happen. I've been waiting for it. We need a nice, safe place to ride.
Tell me about it.
What was that? Isn't there an old abandoned rail line that runs through like the south part of town that was supposed to turn into a trail? Or I heard something about that like 2 years ago, and is that part of this?
That's the
You
same
know,
one.
That's the one. You got it.
That could maybe address that, Cody. I mean, Andy might have been involved, Chris is involved.
One of the houses we looked at whenever we were moving here was on that line. And I was like, I don't want to live on a rail line. Like, oh, it's abandoned. I was like, that would have been awesome.
Big mistake. It goes from a sewer easement to a rail trail. Your house property would have gone up 2 to 17%. So that would be the
Really?
good news. Yes.
No way, just to get rid of the whole sewer reference, huh?
Well, no, just if you live within a half a mile of a rail trail, multiple studies have shown your house values can increase anywhere from 2 to 17%.
I
they
can't
don't-
move then.
There you go.
So can you make that happen like soon? I'd like to see that.
2023, we're confident we can get that built in 2023.
Chris, you know how else you can make your property values go up 2 to 17%? Just put a for sale sign on it.
That's a good point. It's been a great year for real estate. Yes.
Yeah, right now.
Yep.
We'll see. I had a friend of mine's in real estate, and we were talking this weekend, and he said they're starting to see the prices come back down, normalize a bit. I don't know how long that's going to take, but let's get that rail trail in so I can sell it and take advantage of both opportunities.
That's right. Absolutely.
I didn't realize that. Half mile, huh? I'm safe then. Awesome. I had partnership with existing businesses on here because I had it listed, but I don't think we were expecting any updates, right? We were kind of in status quo for Paul, updates on the master plan. Is that correct? I love it when there's an
It's on the, oh, I lost the name of it. The study that was being done in that section.
the grants. Oh my God, I lost it too.
When was that meeting at Bog Iron? Did that already happen?
It's either
That's-
tonight or tomorrow or
It's tomorrow
Saturday?
night. Tomorrow night at 6. I'll be there with a mask on.
I wish I could be there with a mask on, but we're meeting tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And actually, we were supposed to, Michael, we get something to meet earlier? I know this is off topic, but
I don't know that.
we were supposed to meet earlier.
We're meeting, I gotta find a meeting.
I'm looking for it. Sandy, I'm going to figure out what the name of it was.
Rapid Recovery Grant.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do we have any updates on that from him? Do you know?
I do not know. And he texted me to ask if he, should be on the meeting tonight because he wanted to prep for the one that he's having tomorrow. And I told him since we didn't have sewer, unless he wanted some updates, he was going to try to attend if he could. He's probably buried in that stuff. I can ask.
Yeah,
I
'cause
thought we were supposed to get something from them.
I thought we were supposed to be involved. The EDC was supposed to help in some
Right.
way.
There's an awful lot that EDC is involved with relative to the master plan. So stay tuned, I guess. is the
Yeah,
best-
we really need to have a meeting for somebody to tell us, and you think there'd be some partnership in saying, yes, we can do it or no, we can't. It's still a group of volunteers. I mean, I think it's great. I think that we will be able to help.
Agreed. One of the things Paul was working on is there's a document in the text. It's a 105-page study. And it's a document that was supposed to make it easy to basically collate everything that's in there into one sheet. But the problem is you have to keep flipping back into the book to understand what 1.12 is and 2.31 is. So basically, he's got it solved with Sept for that, and that's being worked on. So once that's in place where you can sit and look at one sheet of paper and really understand what you're looking at and what you're talking about, that's when the discussions can start. And so, that's forthcoming shortly from Paul.
Yeah.
I apologize for my ignorance. Has there been a subcommittee that was been appointed to kind of roll this thing out, or is there?
Sept was hired to go ahead and put this study together. And Paul's really driven the vetting of this through the planning board, But even before that, he had open meetings, Zoom meetings that took place, multiple ones on each of the 7 pertinent sections. In addition to that, he's talked to other heads of department within the town government to get feedback from them. So there's been a lot of feedback that's taken place.
No,
But now
we have back, because I know we were about to, we haven't officially received it. We were about to receive it. And I know there was been an implementation. I know there was discussion of an implementation committee, but I haven't heard anything about implementation.
He's still trying to get the document in a form that you can have a productive discussion about implementation.
I didn't think, Michael, that it was an implementation committee. I thought it was each piece is assigned to a specific committee. And so I don't think there's a separate committee overseeing it. I think each one is, because when he went over it last meeting with us, he just kind of highlighted our pieces that we were responsible for. So I think each board committee is supposed to take on the pieces that are listed for them.
Yeah, if I misspoke about an implementation.
That's my interpretation. I don't know if anybody else heard anything different. I mean, that was kind of what I thought.
It's been officially delivered.
What was that, Michael?
Has it been officially delivered to the town yet?
Not yet. The planning board vetted it across multiple meetings. They really went into a lot of detail, to their credit. Then there were edits that took place. That went back to Serped. Serped sent the information back. After another meeting, it went back to Serped. It's at Serped now for the final version that then is going to go ahead and be submitted after the next planning board meeting, which I haven't seen the date up in the calendar yet. So you'll get it this September.
I'm up to date. I just wasn't sure, just the way you guys were talking, I thought it sounded like it'd been delivered and then it's already being rolled out. And it's important that it's a collective. I mean, Paul, I think, understands this. We had a master plan committee back in the 90s, 80s, late 80s, early 90s, and that died in one committee. And it's one of my, I want to ensure that doesn't happen. This is a 20-year plan. I want to make sure it does not, happen again.
Yeah, that's a great concern. And Paul's done a wonderful job of commercializing this, getting tons of feedback through this process. And, I think it's a really good working document, because it's a working document. It will always be a working document, because every year you're going to look at it and you say, this is relevant, this isn't so relevant, this is done, this needs to be done. I mean, that's the benefit of this master plan. You get something in place over that 3 to 5 year period where it's operative. You can make adjustments annually and keep it as a living document, versus what happened from the plan that goes back to 1998. That didn't work so well for the town.
Thank you.
And I think when he shared it with us, it was like draft number 3 and number 4 was already in process or sent back. So it'll be nice to see that. That's important. I'm sure it's, I don't know, they probably aren't recording tomorrow. Are they doing virtual as well? Or is it just in person?
I haven't seen a planning board meeting schedule on the calendar yet, so I'm not sure.
No, for the session tomorrow night, do you know? The one at Bog?
Oh, yeah, so it's at Bog Iron, but it's not going to be a web meeting.
Yeah.
It'll just be in person.
It's too bad. I think both the board and the school committee meet tomorrow. Select board and school committee meet tomorrow.
I'd give Paul a call. He's open. He'd be open to a
Yeah.
Zoom meeting. He's fine. He wants as many people's input as he can get.
Yeah, I think logistically it would be hard. It would just be nice to be able to watch it afterwards. But I mean, we can always get an update from him too. He's really good about that. Okay, so the next item on here is new updates. And Chris, I know that you had emailed me an update that you wanted to share with the group, and then feel free to share whatever information you're able to.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate, first of all, I appreciate the EDC asking me to inquire about some potential tenants for the former Roach Brothers property in Great Woods Plaza. There were a lot of good ideas that were offered up, good potential candidates. So here's the results. I did speak to people I know at Sid Wainer down in New Bedford. They're a specialty produce distributor. They're in financial difficulty, so they were a no. I left 2 messages with Nino Lambert, and he has not got back to me. So apparently they're going to stay put. Misfits Market was an interesting suggestion. They're an organic wholesale distributor of fruit produce, and they're headquartered in Pennsylvania. I sent emails to the procurement department as well as to the real estate group. Did not receive any comments back. However, the good news is that I called Steve Nassif at Nassif Fruit Company in Fall River. He is a wholesale distributor and home delivery business out of Fall River, delivers to a number of communities on the South Coast. And he has talked in the past to Gator about this 46,000 square foot space because he'd like to get into both the retail business, not a full-blown supermarket, but sort of what he described as the Russo's of Norton, Massachusetts. Now, I don't know if you're aware of Russo's in Watertown, Massachusetts, a 100-year family institution, maybe not 100, but more like 80 years. They're actually closing the store now because the family can get $32 million for their 4.5 acres of real estate. Probably not a bad decision. And the townspeople are just crestfallen about this development, but they understand, but Russo's is beloved in the town. That's what he would like to do for Norton. So things had gone cold with Gator. So my phone call to him came at really a perfect time. So kudos to the EDC for making that suggestion. What's the secret to success sometimes is timing, right? Timing. So in any event, we had a really productive discussion. Some of the things he was looking for would be a full liquor license beyond the beer and wine license that there. It's a full liquor license. So I gathered all this information and then made some phone calls over to talk to Mike Eunice and Paul DiGiuseppe just to get some accurate answers. I do understand that the town is out of full liquor license. The census came in for 2020, the town at 19,100, so we don't get another liquor license until we're 20,000. But there is a process through the select board, through the state legislature for that. But it wasn't necessarily a deal breaker, but you can understand that 46,000 square feet for a fruit and produce market, top quality, right? People would come from all over for that type of quality, high quality produce, because he's got great suppliers. That certainly it would be helpful to be able to have a full liquor license, to be able to fully utilize the 46,000 square feet. And from my discussions with Gator, I believe that they really aren't interested in subletting. So the other question he had was about home delivery. He'd have a pretty significant home delivery business in northern Bristol County. He can't reach this area from Fall River cost effectively. So having Norton as a location where he could do home delivery would be very advantageous for him. So that's something, obviously Roche has been doing home delivery in the past, but that would be something that obviously would need research and discussion. And he also asked the question about tax incentive financing because he has a TIF agreement with the city of Fall River already. So that would be something he'd be looking for. It becomes a little tricky when you're trying to pass a TIF through to a tenant where there's multiple tenants in that plaza. But again, not something that can't be solved by town council and some creative activity. So he liked what he heard. He's not ready for a meeting with the town of Norton yet. And Renee, I reached out to you just to let you know. Obviously, I'll keep you copied on anything that's happening. But he's going back to Gator and going to try to negotiate better lease terms than what they were offering. And if he can get the right price from the lease perspective, then the next discussion he'd have with the town.
So Chris, was that why you made the comment about timing, like that he hadn't heard much from them because they just weren't negotiating on the lease?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. Everybody I speak to that's spoken to them, they walk away with either, just not a good feeling. That's the sense that I get from people. So
I think that's an excellent way of putting it.
okay. And I think that knowing that for Steve, knowing that the town is very interested in having a food business, albeit it's not going to be a full line supermarket, but it's certainly a lot more than we have right now. I think that's part of our solution as a community. And I think it's something that not only the community can support, but you're going to draw people from a multitude of communities around. So he's got a business model that I think is going to work. But to do that in 46,000 square feet, he's not going to be able to do it. I mean, he'll knock all that shelving out of there. Remember all the aisles you used to walk down? I needed a map to get my way out of Roach Brothers. I felt like I was at Foxwoods Casino where you can never find your way out. It's easy to get into, but God, it takes you half an hour to find your way back out to the parking garage. But he'll knock the shelving down. It'll be wide open with fruit and produce and dairy as far as you can see. But obviously that's 46,000 square feet is too much to do. But I think this is certainly something I think that his next step would be to have discussions with the town and the EDC if he can work something out with Gator to make this work. And I think it'd be pretty exciting in the town. And then maybe there's something else that the town could do with an existing business like a produce barn. There's certainly things that the town can do. That's a pretty nice business concept he's got there with the liquor store, as well as the not the supermarket, but the grocery store and then the hardware store. Pretty interesting business model there. And as we're looking to develop this 140 section that I live so close to, and I'm very excited about it as well. And I think this, we start to solve this in pieces rather than being able to land one large food retailer, because I really don't see that happening. And I've spoken to all the people, or just about all the people that would be interested in that happening, and there's no interest. And I did speak to my friend Steve Hamilton at Trader Joe's. They have no interest in Norton whatsoever. So that was one stone I forgot to turn. And I think, Cody, you mentioned that Trader Joe's was a potential. They are killing it at Patriot Place. So too close, don't need it.
Yeah, nobody believes us though. Like that was, that's next to the dirty. Actually, have we had many posts on dirty water? But next to dirty water, it's bringing Trader Joe's and you tell.
I spoke to Trader Joe's corporate over a year ago, and they basically said the demographics don't. We average about, I want to say it was $90,000 average income between Attleboro, Taunton, and Norton and so forth, and what they were pulling from, and they're in the 140 average salary range. But that's good about NASA, because I spoke with Melissa back in January, and they weren't really looking for something. But one thing I would just caveat, there is a liquor license attached to, right now, a beer and wine license attached to that spot, which probably Mike made you aware of. And I would just press Mike on this, because I've been told several times directly, and I've asked the question several times, can you pass a TIF program through a lease? Will the state approve a TIF program through a lease that is not new construction? And I've been told no. So you want to make sure you press Mike on that.
Okay.
Trust me, this is a bane of my existence. That plaza is a bane of my existence. Drives me crazy, and I've spent a lot of time speaking to Gator and so forth. And they the way Gator evaluates it, they have 40 properties, and and that they look at this as a portfolio, and they look at leases at 20 years. They don't care about the short-term impact. So, which, and when I brought them in here to speak with us, they rubbed everyone the wrong way because they kept calling us a city. And you guys, by the way, I wish I took a camera screenshot of all your faces every time they called us a city.
I think I said 3 or 4 times town too, didn't I? I kept throwing it out there, like hoping that they'd get it.
They're based in Miami. We'll give them a break.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're kind of hung up on that $40,000 a month.
If NASF is really interested in expanding, coming to Norton, I wonder if Gator doesn't, isn't interested, or it doesn't cooperate, whatever, if there's another location we could find or suggest to them.
I think
that'd be a great business to have in town. And again, it's just being burned by Gator a couple times. I feel like it'd be nice to have a plan B if we could get that company into town.
I think there are options, Sandy, and I think they during COVID they expanded their delivery business tenfold to this area, and I think they're running out of options, especially with Xfinity starting back up for pickups areas, and I know that they've leased certain areas, and I think they're playing the old shuffle game for pickup areas. And I think, back to Chris's point, I think the transporting from Fall River up to Fall River, I forget which one it is, up to here has just become a pain in the tuchus, no pun intended. So.
Chris, what do they actually need for space? Because you said that the Roach Brothers is too much space. What is it that they were looking for ideally?
Everybody is talking in the 20,000 to 25,000 square foot range. Trookies, I mean, they looked at the place. They said, yeah, we're interested, 20,000 square feet. Gator said, forget it. No. That was it. That was the end of the discussion.
Trookies was looking at 20,000 square feet. Doesn't even follow their model.
I'm sorry?
That doesn't even follow their model.
If everything's going smaller. I mean, they probably would have taken 25, Michael, but that's the model that they're all trying to go to, is smaller.
Chris, have you asked Paul to see if there are any grants for economic development that we could pay for the? Can you ask him to just investigate, see if there's any grants that we might be able to get money to put into that space to improve it, to maybe split it for? Because right now they don't want to split the space; they want the $40,000 a month. But if there's money to actually for the construction to actually split the place, they may consider it. I don't know. But we'll see.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I'll see him tomorrow. So I'll ask him that question.
We had 20,000 square feet from the end of McDonald's, where the end of McDonald's is, minus that new work people to Planet Fitness. It was 20,000 square feet there.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible that he could look at other units that are vacant in that space. I mean, there's a lot of different possibilities, but ultimately that's going to be driven by NASF and Gator negotiating, the two of them negotiating together. But I'm going to just stay in touch with Steve. I'll call him every other week. I won't call him every week. I won't be a pest, but I'll call him every other week, see how he's doing, and just keep the dialogue going, because I don't want to lose him, because there's no question in my mind he has this vision. I'm just listening to him talk about the vision of being the Russos of Norton, and he wants people coming from a 30-mile radius to get the best produce and fruit around. He's very confident about his suppliers, and his suppliers, interestingly enough, are very similar set to who supplied Russo's. So that's another factor. It may be that he's trying to increase his volume because the volume at Russo's is going to go away for some of his key suppliers. So that could be a component. Again, I'm speculating there, but he was pretty interested once he understood that the town was interested in his business coming to Norton.
I mean, the price, people think it's the price. It's not the price. It's $10.43 a square foot, which is very competitive for this market before triple net. you're looking at about a $4 triple net for that plaza per square foot. And that's negotiated with that much square footage. But yeah, I mean, if we could find them something in this town, that would be a huge, especially where the customized delis going down in the old Mansfield over near Benny's, the old Benny's. I think, those are the areas that we've got to kind of watch out for. All right, that's good. Thank you. That's awesome. Good news, Chris.
Yeah,
Chris,
well, I just fell into it.
Yeah, Chris, I would just,
did he? Go ahead, Sandy.
I would just say that, if I hate to see him get discouraged if it doesn't work out with Gator. I would, I guess just convey the message that, we could find other spaces for them if that experience is not panning out and becoming frustrating for him.
Okay, great comments, Sandy. I wrote that down and I'm definitely gonna, that's a nice thing to be able to offer up.
And just so you
Do we
know,
have it though? I mean, that's been one of our pain points, right? Even with our discussions.
Blue Star's got that front space, which is going to be retail, which is probably about 12. 15.
Who? I didn't hear that first part, Michael. What?
Uh,
Blue Star? Is that what you're saying? Blue Star?
I'm sorry. I'm
All
not sure why. Let me check. Maybe I think I'm on the wrong speaker here. Yeah, Blue Star is got they got that 10 about 15,000 actually with building 2 might be probably close to 20,000 square feet of space that could be built. It's a lot more expensive. You're looking at probably anywhere from $20 to $22 a square foot, but it's class A space in this area.
But he's looking more also for like a warehouse, correct, Chris? Or is he, would he look up in a storefront? Is it just delivery that he was talking about?
He's talking about, it'll be all three. Within that scope of that space, he'd expand the back room. Okay, so he'd have basically be distributing out of there for home delivery. And then he'd have space for the retail side of it, retail food business. And then hopefully he'd have, obviously the beer and wine license goes with it. So part of that would also be beer and wine. And then he'd also be asking to see if he could get that into a full liquor license at some point. Those are the negotiation points, right? And but the town has some leverage here, and that's what's nice. And being on this call, with all of you very interested in having his business come to town, it's nice to be able to talk to somebody and say the climate is good here, right? It was nice to see the Yale Electric TIF go through. Those people they're good people, and it's going to be a big plus for the town. I just applaud the things that this group has been doing. The town selectmen have been doing, the planning board. I mean, everybody's been doing a great job of bringing business into the town where the business belongs and fits into the blueprint to keep Norton the bucolic town that it is. So great stuff. So thank you. That's my report. I appreciate the time and the feedback, because I get some great feedback here. And I'll make one more call to Steve before I head out to California. And Renee, I'll pop you an email just to give you a recap of what's going on, and then you can share it with the group.
Sure, that'd be great. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you reaching out and having those discussions. I mean, it would be, I think, Sandy said it, right? We've been burned a couple of times. So I think we're all thinking like, what's our backup plan, right? Because we have a great opportunity, and we know the track record. I mean, it's happened to us and other folks as well. So if I don't know where we have it, like, Michael, I hear it on the Blue Star, but it is quite expensive. It's also a build, right? So that requires time.
I mean, the saving, unfortunately, we're kind of stuck with Gator until the market churns, right? Gator will probably sell that property once the market churns. It's just my gut, and I don't care if I'm talking unpopular talk. I would love to see a developer come in and reinvest into that property. I think it's been neglected by Gator, and they've made zero efforts to expand their portfolio there.
Yeah, it's in a good spot, good good parking.
Yep.
It's unfortunate that that's what's open. But yeah, we should have more conversations just to see. I was thinking of, did anyone see the lease sign down on the old Dunkin' Donuts? On Freeman, the two very large ones?
Hey, you know what's interesting is, did Duncan use the upstairs as well? Because they're leasing them almost as two separate. So has the upstairs just been empty?
I was gonna reach out to Alec Jr. About that and just see what's going on with that. I know that he's making a real big push after his previous tenant just kind of COVID got the better of them. I haven't spoken to him in like forever, so I was gonna reach out to him and see what's going on there, because I saw those two new lease signs and they're making a big push there.
Yeah, I was glad to see that, because for a long time they had nothing there. I mean, once the other place folded, and that's the part that I find frustrating. I know, Michael, you drove down 123, 140, and took pictures and found different sites, but I was going back to kind of loop back around and find contact information to, who's the realtor, who's the whatever, who's the owner, and a lot of these places that are vacant don't even advertise that they're vacant, and so it's frustrating.
Unfortunately, most of our 123 and 140 are not professionally managed. They're family owned lots of commercial properties, and they get by to get by, right? So I mean, it's the Drain family has actually done an amazing job churning over some of those properties and then getting them redeveloped, specifically on the South Worcester and North Worcester. And but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of properties. If you take a ride down 120, 123, there are properties that can be redeveloped that are available, but it's hard to find out who's brokering them, who owns them, But anyways.
I never could get the pictures in that file, Sandy.
Oh, sorry. Do you want me to
No,
resend? I mean, they're just the pictures of the locations the addresses were there too. So
Yeah.
I just, I was trying to create like a little database for us for what's vacant, based on, Michael had a, pretty good list there going, but I was trying to then, add to it and say, okay, what's the contact information? So if someone, did reach out, we could say, here's the realtor that's, in charge or whatever. But again, so many of them, you can clearly vacant, but they don't have any contact information whatsoever.
But even then, it's kind of, you wonder what land's available and what land can be developed, right? I mean, there's a huge piece of property, right? And I think there may be some wetland concerns right on Birch Street and Route 123 that I think the Riches zone. It makes you wonder if that land can be developed, right? I mean, there's a lot of, everybody wants shovel-ready properties, but we just don't have a lot of those.
Right, that's why that property there is so attractive. Right, it's built.
Chris, did Gator get back to you? Did they not get back to you?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Grant Siegel. He was, he's asking me, he says, you want a commission? I don't want a commission.
It's Grant
No,
Siegel.
no. What I want to do is I want to work with your guy, with your owner, and let's get this place leased out. Let's get a food store back in here.
Was Grant Siegel the broker?
Was pretty.
Was Grant Siegel the broker?
Somebody's had it. I'm sorry.
Was Grant Siegel the broker or worked for Gator?
He's in Florida, so he works for Gator. Yeah, and he was pretty confident for a guy who's had a place vacant for 2 years. That's probably the best way to say it.
Interesting. Awesome. Well, thank you again, Chris. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity.
Sure, of course. And I think we'll keep our thinking hats on and figure out, can we get a backup plan in place? Right, or at least something to present. So, any other updates, new updates that the group wanted to share?
Can I make suggestions for the next meeting for the agenda? I don't know, did Cody, did your map ever go anywhere? The maps that you were doing for, I think it was for Catherine, right?
Yeah, I know Paul asked me for something. He was having trouble with the maps. He was doing something with it, but I don't know where it went from there.
Can we maybe get some follow-up, Renee, from whoever it should go to, I guess, is where,
Well, Catherine's leaving, right?
yeah. So are we just holding on till the new person comes in? Is that the idea right now?
Yeah, I can ask Paul and see what he thinks. But yeah, I'd imagine they're gonna have to get somebody. Wait, is there somebody, Michael?
Yes, we appointed someone.
We appointed them last week, right?
Yeah, and let's check my notes. I forgot her name. I apologize. She's coming from Mansfield, and she used to work for us. And her name is.
That's okay. It slipped my mind that we had appointed someone. So I mean, it'll probably be a couple months, like just to get her feet wet. So I'll ask Paul, Sandy, and we'll see. But I think it's a good. Do you want me to put that on as an agenda item for next week, or I mean, I can have it as a placeholder.
Yeah,
so
just I guess just to next steps on that. What are
yeah
next steps
on town-owned properties, right?
Yeah.
So,
And then the other thing I had a question on was the business guide. So I feel like we've gone in so many circles on that. And I do have like sort of a template for the trifold. But when I was looking at the master plan and what we were asked to do, and that sort of the guidelines and the samples that were given, they were not really what we're doing, right? So they were more I guess interactive online, more online kind of pieces. So I guess, and then we ran into a lot of issues with the trifold of, we talked about QR codes. Michael said QR codes are going out of style. So, or they're going to at some point. No, it's fine.
They were pre-COVID.
On that, they were going out of style before COVID hit.
And you told me they're going to go back out of style.
Going out of style before COVID hit.
Okay, so I guess that was the issue I ran into, is like there's so much stuff online, right? And so I guess a static brochure or static trifold without any sort of way to link to all the online information, I just don't know what we're going to do with that, right? If that's really what the master plan piece that we were charged with is gonna, if this is gonna satisfy that.
What it makes sense is part of what we saw. And I know we didn't really go into it in great detail, but it was brought up, right? It's a little bit different than our initial purpose. Would it make sense to switch it to more of like an online brochure? So you hit the website, you can open it up and flip through and get information and then have the links. I think that's why we started with, and that's why I say I feel like we're going in circles, because we started with this really comprehensive long guide, right? It's based off of Mansfield's, right?
Right, that Anthony was working on, and I don't remember why we decided to pare it all down to. Was it just too much to keep updated? Was that the issue? Like, what was? I don't know.
I thought it was just too much. I thought that's what we talked about. Like, how do we skinny it down and give them exactly what they need, and then where that sub information was not to put it on the face of it. Does anybody else remember that? That's the sense that I'm getting, but my memory's not that great.
I think Paul kind of kept saying, well, that we were getting bogged down in some of the details and things that would change, and he kind of kept saying, well, I really just want people to come talk to him and to have that conversation so he could walk them through and guide them through. So I started looking at, and I'll look more at them, but the examples that SERP had specifically put in the master plan, they pointed to a couple different towns. Mansfield not only now has that business guide, but now they have a whole crazy interactive website piece that they've done. I mean, I don't know that we can get there. I think we take baby steps to get there. But I think looking at the other towns that, I think Middleborough was one of them. I have them linked somewhere and I started looking at them, but maybe we can kind of see what those other towns are doing and that Serpent was suggesting we model after.
So Sandy, I think to your point, I think you're absolutely right. I think Paul has this desire that people come and talk to him. Point of this is not, I mean, is kind of make people independent, right? So I don't know. I don't want to walk on it because, like I said, I've been removed from it long ago. But yeah, I mean, what's the stance of it now? Like, where does it stand right now? Is it done? Is it?
So right now I have a template of a trifold that I was going to send over to a friend to make into a trifold, which would mean, her doing the graphic design piece of it. I kind of have it all outlined, but I guess I would hate to have her spend that time doing that if we're not going to use it, if it's not really what we're looking for.
And I got the sense from the master plan that it is not to direct people to Paul, but to make it more of a self-service portal. Right. So I think maybe Sandy, we look when the final version is ready, we look at that in more detail and figure out, what really is the ask and how can we leverage what we have.
Yeah.
And the best way to move forward. But I think the town has spoken.
I guess the question too is, what are business owners looking for, right? I feel like we're speculating here as to what would be helpful. Is there a way we can gauge what people would find helpful? Or is there a way, we can see what kind of traffic some of these sites even get to see which towns have information that people find helpful?
Yeah, it would be nice to have an analysis on our website because every time I talk to people, they're like, I can't find a thing on there.
Our website is so counterintuitive.
Right. And then I was thinking too, like, I know I was trying to find some of the things that Paul had pointed out to us before that's all on there. Right. And it's, can we come up with a link to a separate site that's links back to some of these pieces, but really lays it out, because I think we're somewhat limited in what we can do with the website, correct? Because it's not, just the formatting itself is not great.
Well, maybe that's a recommendation, is we need to update our platform.
So-
So maybe that's part of the charge when we see what comes back, right? To meet the needs of what the town has asked for, we might need to build a list of requirements. And one of those might be to look at other platforms.
Just so you know, the Mansfield's economic site started off as the Mansfield EDC site. They basically just got a website and they asked the town to pay the hosting fee and pay the town for the domain. And the EDC site that had very, very basic information on it, meetings, things they were working on, so on and so forth. And what ended up happening is it ended up getting funded from a grant and / through the town, and it's turned into that site that we all saw, that very robust site.
And that site is separate from their website, correct? Like, you don't go to you could, I'm sure, find it on their town website, but it has its own separate.
No,
Wait.
their EDC was separate from their town. Okay,
Okay.
so it was a town organization, but it was a separate site.
Right.
The
Okay.
new business site took over this EDC site.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I have something, Renee, if I'm not sure, I don't want to just kind of change directions on you, but
In respect to our discussion?
yeah, it was sex business in town.
Oh, I thought in addition to what Sandy said. Yeah.
That's all I'll say about that website. I don't want to, I know we were having a robust discussion regarding just the guide. Sandy, what do you need? What do you need? I mean, let me ask you this. What do you need to make this happen?
To make well, I guess I want to understand what the SERPED is asking for, like is recommending. Because they have in there that they want us to do a business guide, and we had this huge thing, then we pared it down to almost nothing. But then even when I pared it down, it was like, again, it was missing those links, right? And so we have a lot of information out there. how do we get it all called into one kind of spot?
Sandy, if I could just jump in, I don't think Serpent's asking us for anything, right? I mean, they put this master plan together, but it's really incumbent upon the town to kind of put its own imprint on it. So think about the question that Mike asked about, what do you need? What do you want to do? What do you think would work? And that works for Norton.
Yeah, I just know that they had a couple sample towns to look at as guides for what they were talking about. I forget what the towns were even. I have it written somewhere.
I can tell you though that the comparative set that they used in a number of occasions was not certainly not favored by the planning board. They actually made a number of adjustments to some of the comparison points. So I'd say, think about some of the things that you talked about going to local towns around here. You mean, we're not going to be Mansfield. Got it. Maybe we can do something like Middleborough or another bordering town.
Middleborough was definitely one of them. The guides, that's why, I mean, we've been kind of looking at Mansfields a lot, and I think it would be helpful to kind of have other towns to look at as well, just to see, compare, because I guess I don't know. That's my short answers. I don't know what a business owner would find helpful, or prospective business owner would find helpful, what they're looking for, why they would go to a website, what they would find and be searching out. So I guess those questions are really, I don't have the answers to right now.
This is, sorry, I'm probably late to the game on this. This is for like prospective businesses that are interested in coming to Norton or doing more business in Norton, for them to find information, or is this for customers and consumers to go through and get paired up with something that they're looking for, like whether it's a service or?
I mean, it's for businesses. I'm not sure if it's just prospective, or it could also be maybe existing businesses who are looking for information, but it was a business guide was how it was kind of put, I think, and worded in terms of the recommendation in the master plan.
Yeah, I mean, it was really just geared towards, and I'm gonna put Dedham's in there in the chat, their business guide. It was really just kind of a basic understanding of, key contacts, the town clerk, the planning zone, the building department, the fire department, the board of health, the economic development department, right? When you look through this, like how to apply for a liquor license, how to get started about your business, retailing in Dedham, right? This is one of our goals. It looks like Dedham's actually updated theirs since we did it last. And it was, we just kind of, I think we wanted to be one thing for everybody, and we just got bogged down with it. And where I'm actually looking at their new one. It's actually pretty sharp. That's kind of, but it is not for customers, it's for business owners. And by no means is it, I think what we're trying to do, and I think we, in a way, we're kind of overthinking it. We're trying to create one brochure with every answer. It doesn't exist. Right? Especially if you're trying to build in Norton. If you're trying to build in Norton, well, it all depends, if I hear one more time, well, it all depends on which lot it is, or what side of town it is, right? I mean, you're going to have a million different variations of what you can do with, depending on your lot, on wherever you are in town. So, I think part of me wants to almost go back to the old plan, the bulky plan, Sandy, and go to war with it, and just publish it and then correct it. Next year, just be okay. Next year, oh, great. That's great feedback. We're making notes of it. Boom. Great feedback. We're making notes of it.
Right. Yeah, I wonder, does anyone have the original? Who would have the original? Anthony left us with.
I spoke to Anthony last night, actually. He's down in Texas. I'm pretty sure Anthony has it, and I'm pretty sure I could get it.
Okay.
I think Denise, because Denise, didn't you initially take it over from him? I'm sure I have it in my inbox too. I can look.
I'm here. Well, I did take it over from Anthony. What are you looking for, the version that he provided?
Do you remember the first longer version?
I think by the time I took it over from Anthony, it had already been cut back quite a bit,
Okay.
though.
Let me shoot Anthony. I might be able to get you an answer before you even get off the phone. Yeah.
My only piece of feedback, because I clicked on the Dedham one, is if we do something big, please, let's make sure we put a table of contents in there.
Yeah,
It annoys me when I open up a 12-page document and I have to scroll through each page to figure out what's on it.
Hey, make change that you went through it.
My feedback on that would be where they're saying you need a building permit or sign permit or whatever, is link it. Like it's in bold and I immediately hovered over it. Like, can I link? Can you click on that to send me to where I need to get the application for the permit?
Yeah, this is a PDF. This is a non-link.
Yeah, I've got, I mean, online PDFs, whenever you, it has the ability to throw in hyperlinks on web PDFs.
This is actually, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm reading this right, this is an InDesign file. So that's converted to PDF.
Yeah. But if we're doing it, that'd probably fairly
This
straightforward.
is actually, since we started talking about it, this is the third version of this.
Yeah, because he's like on what is it, page 4, they've got the link to mass.gov for the alcohol license. So they do have links in there. So it's that would be one of my things, is if we're trying to make it like a roadmap for companies to use and cite and go through. If they're looking at it, it would be, I mean, if I was starting a company or bringing a company in, I was like, oh, I need to do that. I don't want to have to go search for it. It just makes it easier.
And that's where I think we had started with the original. And I can't remember the conversation with why we deviated so far and kind of started scaling back so much. I mean, we all agreed to it. I just don't know why we had a pretty robust. I think you're right, Michael. It was a little unwieldy, and at some point it would be good to just kind of put something out there and then and understand it's not going to be perfect, that it's going to be something that evolves.
I mean, is there anything stopping us from, I won't say plagiarizing, but using a wheel that's already been created and just adapting it to our town?
That was exactly how we originally started it. We took the data one and we just, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
And Cody, that's called reallocating resources.
The Dedham one was originally just we copied the Dedham one last time we had it, and I mean, we just changed phone numbers and contacts and so forth. I believe, actually, I don't even see a copyright on this one, but this one has definitely been professionally designed versus what they had. So yeah, but I think our original one had that. Let me look back. Let me get in touch with Anthony and see if we can find the original one.
I'll take a look too. I'm sure it's in my email. I just can't move off where I am now, but I can take a look as well, Michael.
I was gonna say, I probably have it in the early emails when he first started sending them around for review.
One of the things that I wanted to bring up is, one of the things that our job is obviously to recognize business in town that are either opening or a success or kind of mid milestones. It's one of the things that I would love to bring to this meeting is once a meeting kind of recognizing that. And I would love to create just some kind of recognition of that, of either a citation, basically say congratulating a business on a milestone, on opening or something from either the EDC or the select board. Our recommendation can track getting it from the EDC. I want to get if this is something that we want to do, don't do, we're going down a dangerous road, so on and so forth. Because you know what made me think of it is that we've got a good friend, friends, many people on this page, on this meeting, that's just about to do a grand opening of her bakery. And you know, it's, if anybody knows the story that she went through to open this thing, it's really is a level of determination that is incredible. You know, I really want to see, you know, I would love to somehow recognize this business finding a home, permanent home within the town.
Is there, do we have anything for like social media for the town to, is something as simple as like hashtag, you know, for Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, like all the basic stops that everybody hits, to do something like hashtag Norton is open or hashtag Norton yes instead of Norton no. You know, it's, you know, something along those lines to have a place where, you know, you're promoting business within Norton, and it's a kind of central place where everybody in the town can see that, you know, I mean, you can follow Pork and Bib and you know that they're at the Common today. But if you've got a central place to say, well, what's going on today, if you had a kind of a town social media presence where you could, you know, any of the companies or, you know, restaurants or whatever that are in Norton could tag that, because most of them have some sort of social media presence anyways. And if there was one place that, you know, you can go on Facebook for Norton Neighbors and see all the, you know, complaints about everything. But if you have somewhere where it's like Norton Business or, you know, something along those lines where people can tag it and, you know, you can see what's going on at any given point.
So Corey, we have an EDC page. We have not created a hashtag that we would consistently promote and say, you know, realistically, we should do it. You know, I like your Norton is open or, you know, Norton Business, you know, EDC Norton Business or something like that. It'd be great to promote just that hashtag and then try to cross promote it with Norton Neighbors and Connect and Norton.com to try to get more oomph out of it. But I know on the 17th is the grand opening of this individual shop. I would love to see us somehow, I mean, I may bring it up through the select board to do a citation or so forth, or even through the state rep to do a citation to try to congratulate this individual for opening up their new business.
Right.
Yeah.
Why don't we try to reach out to her and get her her logo and put it up on the EDC page so we can promote it too, her grand opening.
You know, something I'm in kind of in a chat with her now, so I'll be glad to ask her if she's open.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say, I mean, I think a citation is a great idea. It probably would make more sense to come from the select board than it would from the EDC. But I think the social media kind of, I don't want to call it advertising, but promotion of the business, I think would be more would be more beneficial to them and appreciated from them.
Absolutely. Is it all right for me to bring this up in the open session? It's under to the from the EDC to the select board. I can bring it up under my section of selectmen notes.
Now, does somebody want to email Michael the idea and he could bring it up under selectmen's mail and reports?
Like where you thinking, Renee? Sandy, you want to just shoot me a quick message?
I can shoot you.
I mean, yeah, shoot him an email. No, I think it's worth having a discussion. I do like the social media part of it though, and I know I like the hashtag too. Like something Norton Business that's real clear and simple. And Cody, when you were talking, you mentioned, you know, you can follow Fork and Bib. I can't remember how the page is set up, but it would be great to like grab all of those and put them on the EDC site. So it's like a one-stop shop for businesses, like anyone that we know. Like I think Mac and Waltz, do they have a social media presence, right? Because they're posting pictures all the time.
Yeah, they have
Right?
a Facebook
Like,
page. I think
yeah.
Twitter. Yeah.
So-
Does Bog Iron too?
Yep.
So EDC, the Facebook page follows a lot of those. And
Can
so
people easily get to that, Sandy?
the EDC page, yes, but what you would need to do, and this would take somebody who, you know, has the time to do this, would be to kind of repost, right? So take like, so you as EDC, you follow all these places, And then ideally you would repost their advertisements, their announcements, whatever they put out there. But I don't know. I mean, that's a pretty hefty job commitment, time commitment to be able to have to keep up with that.
So to get to the level you're talking about is a daily thing. If we can start doing it even once a month, I think it would be huge for us to this. I would love to can we all kind of put our thinking caps on in next meeting, try to come up with your best hashtag that would be Norton Pro Business with the built-in EDC something into it.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but hashtags are more the Twitter, right? As
Twitter,
opposed
yeah.
to, which I don't think we have a Twitter. I don't think we have a Twitter presence at all on EDC.
It work at both Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Well, I think in
hashtag it, it'll
Facebook,
work.
I think I see more people tagging. I don't really see them. I see them tagging EDC as opposed to
You can-
a
you
hashtag.
can
'Cause
do
you don't
that.
really-
Yeah, you can do that, but if you've got the hashtag and whatever it is, you can click on it and it'll bring up like all the other posts of anybody else that's used the same hashtag. So it's the same kind of functionality. And any of the companies that are active on social media, they're posting to all those places. And I think whenever they do Instagram, it automatically goes to Facebook. And then they have Twitter and some of them Snapchat and all the other stuff that they do.
So Sandy, what we would be doing is promoting Norton Open for Business, hashtag Norton Open for Business. So anytime someone like Mac and Walt, they're going to hashtag Norton Open for Business. They're going to do their own hashtags, but they're going to add Norton Open for Business. What happens is when someone types in hashtag Norton Open Business, all those posts will be consolidated into that hashtag.
Yeah.
And I get that, and I think that's something that's used pretty frequently on Twitter. I just don't see it. I don't see it happening a lot with businesses on Facebook.
Type in hashtag vote tool.
I don't know anything about hashtags, but what do you think about something real generic like?
All right, Denise, it's number sign.
No, but I didn't know, like Cody was saying, if you click on it, everything that has that hashtag pops up. I had no idea that that's how they work. But anyway, I was gonna say, what do you think about like something like EDC business shout out or something like something very generic, because it may not all be business openings, right? It might be some other reason why we want to.
Yeah.
Do we need to put EDC in there? Because I just think people aren't,
Yeah,
I think that's too complex.
I like the open for business. It doesn't mean you're just open for business, but you're open for business. You're doing business. I really think that open for business is one of those things like Norton open for business. And I would love to even see us maybe try to get a small grant from the select board and or the town to do like some yard signs to kind of get that promotion out there of at Norton open for business, hashtag Norton open for business.
Yeah, and you can set up a Twitter account, a Facebook account or whatever, and just like Norton open for business. And then anytime somebody tags that, it's that could be the place where everybody goes to see like what's going on in Norton today. Where's Fork and Bib? Does anybody else have a food truck open? Does somebody have a yard? Like there's all sorts of stuff. You need somebody to manage the social media aspect of it and make sure that, administer the page, which gets into another issue. But I mean, having the hashtag makes it easy for all the companies that are active in social media and want to draw the attention. They're already doing that, but instead of trying to find new followers, if they're posting it to a kind of central place, the same way we know anytime you want to hear about who's speeding through town, you go on Norton Neighbors and you'll hear about who's speeding
In town.
so
So I guess I'm just thinking, can we utilize what we already have, right? That we already have the Facebook page, that we're not really using. People could tag the Facebook page.
So Sandy, I agree with you. We would be using our Facebook page, but we would be advertising hashtag Norton open for business. So we would be advertising it. That would be almost right now. If you go type in, and I didn't even type it in yet, but if we type in Google hashtag Norton open for business,
Just do pound NPS Pride.
But whatever we decide on, yeah, there isn't any tags really. This, what would happen, Sandy, is we would create the chain of tags, and it would ultimately land back at the EDC Facebook page.
So we started,
And it wouldn't matter what platform you were on. It would always go back. It didn't matter if you're on Twitter. It doesn't matter if you're on Instagram. It doesn't matter. It will go back to home of with the place that most of those tags are. Yeah.
so we started off with coming back to the next meeting with what hashtag do we want to use? Are you saying that open for business is going to be the one that we're going to use?
I think that's one of them that should be considered. Yeah, but I mean that's my choice.
Let's throw it in the mix. It's like, so Michael's ask was to come back with some potential hashtags that we can consider.
Okay.
I think it needs to be easy, clear, and short, right?
Mm.
And hopefully everybody agrees we don't put EDC in there, because I just don't think anyone's going to think EDC when they're thinking like open for business. Or I like the shout out, like Norton Business shout out.
I only
I like
said the
that one too.
EDC because I thought at one point we wanted it as something that we were doing as the EDC, like that was going to be part of it, but I'm not leaving it out. I could care less.
Yeah, I just don't think people think of it, right? And do we need the promotion? I mean,
No.
I get we have one vacant seat, but
I don't think we need to be self-promoting. I think we should be promoting everyone else.
Right.
I agree.
You know, draw attention to the companies in our town to make them more successful, draw more people in. You know, you can follow stuff and look on Mansfield and Easton and Taunton and all the surrounding area. You can go in and see what's going on their pages. If we create one, you know, you can get surrounding areas. And there's probably some opportunities for, you know, cross marketing, for lack of a better term, with the surrounding area.
So I think this is great, but I think before we go down this path too much, we have to find someone who's willing to do it and keep up with it.
well, once we create it and we do a little promotion of it, it will keep up with itself. It's non-touch, right? Because it would be the Mac and Waltz putting in the hashtag. It would be the Sweet Stuff Bakery, like they would be putting in the hashtag. We just our legwork is just in the beginning.
It's just getting the word out and telling, you know, getting the companies that are already active, getting them to use the hashtag, and then from there it just kind of snowballs. Everybody starts using it, and you know, I like the idea of, you know, yard signs or something like that. I mean, the Norton for Everyone signs I saw all over the place, just to create some kind of awareness initially.
Mm-hmm.
And
We're gonna put 1,000 of them in the Roach Brother or the Gator Plaza.
We'll start hashtagging everything on Norton Neighbors. Hashtag Norton is open or something.
That's what ends up happening is once it becomes commonplace, people just put it in.
Yeah.
Okay, so I added hashtag business guide. I just put purpose for right now. I think, Sandy, even if Paul doesn't have any updates for us, we can keep it on, right? Keep it on the agenda so we don't lose sight of it and figure out what is our next step on that. And then I have town-owned properties. Anything else for the next meeting? Okay, just quickly, it's 9:21. Meeting logistics, I think, I know we talked about getting together in person outside, and it's getting darker now. I don't know if we still want to try to do that before fall really sets in, just to have a chance to see everyone, since we've been remote now for a year and a half. I'm open to it. It's up to you guys, though. I think logistically at this point, based on hybrid, I think we're going to stay virtual once it gets cold, for sure.
Yeah, like it's dark earlier too.
I know, that's why I asked.
Like, around our phone lights.
Right, kumbaya. I can bring the tiki torches.
I guess
We can light them up around.
the only thing I would say is, do we have to have a password for this meeting?
It is, this one does have a passcode, so anybody can get in.
Okay,
Yeah.
I want to make it as easy as possible for people to attend. That's all.
For the meeting?
Yeah, I know we do put the passcode out there, so it's all right. Never mind, don't worry about it.
Yeah, you're required by Zoom now. It's either passcode or you do the waiting room. And then the waiting room you can just have people queued. Do you guys want to try for an in-person? Something like at the library gazebo earlier in the evening? A shorter 1 hour? We don't have to.
I'm fine with trying. I don't know, my
You
schedule.
might
is-
do a drive-by, Denise?
Yeah, as I say, I might be like coming and going because I got a lot of pickup drop-offs going on right now. But
Man, you gotta get those kids driving.
next year.
Do you need a license to have a go-kart?
Don't get
Okay,
'em-
I'll take a look. I mean, it's weather dependent too, so we can always post, and then if we need to change, we can do that. I'll see what the agenda looks like. If it's something where we need to have tools and technology, then we can stay. If it's something where it's more light, then we can think about doing it in person. Okay, the other part was the approval of meeting minutes. So Denise sent out to us 5 different meeting minutes, January 28th of 2021, February 10th of 2021, March 10th of 2021, July 14th, 2021, and August 11th of 2021. Did everyone have a chance to review those? And is anyone prepared to vote on them tonight? Can't all be silent.
I'm prepared.
I'm prepared too. So how about this, Denise? We'll throw it out there. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the 5 meeting minutes of January 28th, February 10th, March 10th, July 14th, and August 11th, all of 2021.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, any discussion? Okay, Sandy,
yes.
Denise,
Yes,
Michael? Michael's on mute.
he disappeared.
How about Sharon?
Yes.
Okay, I'm a yes. And Michael? Bueller? I haven't seen that movie in such a long time. Thank you.
He's coming back.
Okay, so it's unanimous. So all meeting minutes are approved. We'll get those posted out online. Any other topics for discussion tonight, or anything that we'd like to add to the agenda, which is now our next meeting is slated for Wednesday, September 22nd. Okay, if not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
So
moved.
moved. I'll second.
I'll take you, Denise, and then Sandy on the second.
Yep.
Thank you. That way it's copy paste. Sandy,
Yes.
Denise,
Yes.
Sharon,
Yes.
Michael? Michael, just one more time.
Are you waiting on me, Renee?
Yes.
Aye.
Okay, and I also say yes. So that concludes our meeting at 9:26 p.m. Thank you guys so much for the discussion. Thank you, Chris, as well. I know you may have stepped away, but much appreciated. And we'll circle back in a couple weeks. And Sandy, you said you were going to send out prior to the next meeting the review, right? So I'll keep the open reviews on the agenda for the marijuana establishments.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, perfect. Great. Thank you, guys. Have a great
Okay.
night.
You
Night.
too.
Have a good night. Bye.
Bye-bye.